All right, guys. So we got another episode of AIM podcast. This time, Enesy with us, and I just wanted to mention in the beginning that in the first one, it was kind of experimental. I know the subject is very interesting for you guys, like aiming, like settings and stuff like that. You guys keep asking me about that, but we did like general thing with serious and ins. So we spoke about like 2 hours about everything, and I feel like we could speak for another 2 hours and it wouldn't be enough. And we spoke like generally about aim, so in every different kind of FPS game, because like Serious is coaching basically Valorant players, CS players, like Overwatch players, Quake players. So we touch the subject generally. This time we're gonna do something shorter, and I want to focus with you, NSC, on like Quake things. So we're gonna speak only about aiming in Quake. And I just wanted to ask you first of all, like, how did you get into the Quake, and how did you start playing? Did you play any other games before?
Yeah, actually, I started out like playing for the first time in the beginning of 2012. I got into Quake Live,
Hmm.
um, but I never really played with the intention of like playing competitively or something because I thought I was gonna be like a Starcraft player or something. I didn't
Well.
really play FPS games before,
Hmm.
so that was like kind of my first experience with that.
So you were focused more on StarCraft back in the days.
Yeah, I was.
And who was your like
Um,
favorite player in StarCraft 2?
Well, in StarCraft 2, it
Yeah.
would probably be like I think MVP was probably my favorite player.
Hmm.
Uh, but I like some of the Brood War guys, you know.
Mm.
Some of my favorite players are like Flash
All
or
right.
Boxer or something.
Yeah, Boxer is
So
super old school. And
yeah,
about Europeans, who you think was like the best European player in StarCraft 2?
in StarCraft 2, like
Yeah.
currently it's Cyril for sure.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know, like back in the day, we had like when I was playing, it was like Naniwan, Stefano.
Stefano. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I remember that. I think I was even in the same organization as Stefano. It was Millennium. It was French organization. I think he
Yeah.
played under that. Yeah. Anyway, back in the days we had a lot of tournaments stacked like Quake together with StarCraft 2. So like we kind of like cross each other. So that's why it's also interesting for me to watch like StarCraft games and players and follow them. So you basically started with StarCraft, then you kind of switched to Quake. You didn't touch any other
Yeah.
FPS games basically for a longer period of time.
No, not really. I mean, the way I got into it, I remember I watched the IEM with Cooler
Hmm.
Rafa, and that's
Hmm.
kind of like what made me want to try the game and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, well, that's even more interesting because, I wouldn't expect you playing like StarCraft 2 and then switching to Quake and having like one of the best aims and like aiming really good. That's
yeah,
kind of like unthinkable for me right now. I kind of get like brain lag right now because I
yeah,
expected you to say something like CS or like some other games, and you coming from StarCraft and aiming really good. Like,
yeah. But I think it's actually because of the way that I got introduced to Quake. Like for some reason, like when I started out in Quake, like the thing that fascinated me was the whole aiming thing
hmm.
because the first months like learning the game, like all I did was like doing just aim practice. Just
All
I
right.
would do it would be like months for me where I was just doing like LG battles, and
Hmm.
that's kind of like what set the foundation for me. I would practice for like hours until my wrist were in like too much pain to like
Understand.
continue going almost.
Understand. Jesus, that's
So, but
crazy. So
but
as
I
I
wouldn't recommend anyone does that. But
yeah.
this that's kind of like how I started out, you know.
But
So
I think that helped. I think so. I assume like when you watched the Cooler Rafa finals, that was like Quick Lifetimes IEM. So you
yeah,
started with Quick Life and you started like learning aim in Quick Life, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, because like in my opinion, it was much harder to hit in Quick Life than it is in Quake Champions, for example, right? So if you
yeah,
master
yeah,
like aim there, you kind of switch to Quake Champions and it kind of felt easier for you.
yeah, for sure. I mean, just because in Quake Champions you have champions that are like maybe there is like larger models and the enemies a lot like moving a little bit slower.
True.
So um, so I do think the fact that I got my practice in Quake Live really benefited me a lot
Hmm.
going into Quake Champions. And I do
Definitely.
think that, the guys that are starting in Quake Champions, or like trying to improve their aim in Quake Champions, it might hurt them a little bit, because I don't think you can like purely,
Hmm.
grind on Holy Trinity or something like that, and then
Hmm.
it would be like, I don't think you could get to the same level
Hmm.
just doing that.
So training aim in Quick Life was like 1v1 aim maps, like one of those, like one big like circle map, like where you LG fight and things like this. So specifically like
Yeah,
aim maps, right?
yeah, but I only really did that in the beginning, actually,
Hmm.
because after I felt like I got to a certain point, it kind of like set the foundation for me, and then I would start like playing normally after that,
Hmm. Hmm.
just playing like Clan Arena and stuff. Um,
Okay, then
because
you continue with Clone Arena, right?
yeah, yeah,
So it's also like heavy aiming mode still.
yeah, 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 it is.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I think you had a like great foundation. First you start with aim maps, then you move to like Clan Arena, so the main goal of yours was like still like trying to improve in duels, or like because this is what catch you to Quake, like you watched the final of duel game and then you started
yeah,
Quake, but maybe when you started to aim and you felt like you are aiming really well and you are out aiming people, maybe you wanted to go more this side with aiming and trying to improve even more than actually like mastering duels. Like how did it like transform later? Did you still wanted to really go fully like duels and strategy and timings, or you kind of like catch the thingy with aim and you continue more focusing more on aim?
yeah. The thing is, I was actually kind of like playing Quake for fun,
Hmm.
because I was had in the back of my mind that I was gonna be like a Starcraft pro or something. Like it
Hmm.
was just like a side thing for fun.
Yeah.
Like I only really started to like try to play tournaments and stuff like 3 years ago or something. I kind of regret that I didn't go harder into the game,
Hmm.
because like this is the game that I kept coming back to,
Hmm.
and because I didn't realize that I just had more passion for the arena FPS instead of uh,
Gotcha.
the other games,
Hmm. So yeah, what always amazed me in StarCraft 2, like I was watching a lot of those, like, and again, guys, sorry, now I'm gonna speak about StarCraft. Last time we were supposed to speak about Quake and we spoke about Valorant, Overwatch, and CS. Now I'm gonna speak about StarCraft. But anyway, what amazed me really much about StarCraft players was I remember when I was a kid and I was like practicing for some events. I was watching motivational like movies, like all those like Korean StarCraft players in gaming houses, in team houses, like wearing like all those like team jackets, and they were like practicing 20 hours per day. And I was like, God, like they working so hard, like their like work ethic is like really hard. And that's what I also like see in you, like with this aim training. You said you were like training until your arm was like really hurting. So
Yeah,
it's hard to compare, because like it's definitely much more difficult to play like, let's say, 10 hours straight of Quake and 10 hours straight of StarCraft, I think, right? Because like it's like in Quake it's like a lot of movements and your hand actually hurts, right?
yeah. There's no way you could like it was easier to grind that many hours in
In
StarCraft,
StarCraft,
even
yeah.
even though it is really intense, because you have to like at the
Hmm.
high levels you have to play like super high APM,
Hmm.
like really spam a lot and be super focused.
Hmm.
Um, but I would say that playing a duel in Quake
Hmm.
requires so much focus. You can't grind that for that much time without
Hmm.
like getting too exhausted, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think, yeah,
yeah,
even people who like train a lot, like let's say Rafa, they still kind of go for like 3 4 hours maybe, and then I think there is like at some point there is no way you can like play like fully focused. And I don't know, I guess you are not really learning anything. Maybe some moments like stick in your memory or something. But anyway, I wanted to ask you about Quake. Like, do you prefer like hit scans or projectiles? Do you prefer OG, like, or rail and rocket, or
uh,
you think it's like both, or like how would you describe your,
like what I prefer.
yeah, your
Yeah,
preferences?
yeah, yeah. I think it's kind of weird for me, because
Hmm.
assuming I'm a aim player, I would be like more. I would like rail more, but I'm
Mhm.
actually more of like an LG and rocket kind of guy.
LG and
Um,
Rocket, yeah.
uh, yeah, so I like the mid and close range kind of battle.
Mhm.
I don't really, but it's simply because I didn't
Railing,
enjoy railing and
yeah.
yeah.
So with LG, right? Yeah, you said that you train a lot on aim maps, but for example, if you have a battle in Quake right now, do you
Yeah.
like, because like I remember when I was playing some aim ups, right, back in the days, there was like you could get into like tricky situation with your mind because sometimes you wanted, for example, to hit as much as you can, and you were like you're dodging normally, you were doing everything okay, but then at some point you really wanted your opponent to hit less, and you started to dodge a lot, and then your accuracy decreased, right? So you are getting into all these little situations. So now, like when you are actually playing, do you focus to hit as much with LG, or like you focus to dodge a lot and not get hit?
It actually changed for me over time. I
Hmm.
think now I'm more focused on the dodge
Hmm.
than I was previously,
Hmm.
and I think that's just because I'm like being confident that you will hit, and it's also because
Hmm.
if you think about Quake Champions, maybe it's easier to hit, and you can probably
Hmm.
use less of your focus on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but do you feel you still feel like when you are dodging really hard, like we're talking only about LG right now, like LG
Mm.
LG fight. If you are dodging, you still kind of feel that your accuracy like decreases if you try to dodge like too hard, if you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
really
know.
want to dodge, yeah. So you still prefer to like somebody hit less than you hitting more. Because I remember, for example, Stermy, right, in Quake Live, he had really good LG, but the thing with him was like his dodging was really predictable. It was kind of long, like strafes, like which helped him to, to aim like more with the keyboard and less with the mouse. And he was dodging like real wide, so you had to only expect that. Same was with strengths. Like he was hitting a lot, but his dodging was super easy. With, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
with Cooler was like much different already. Cooler in general was really good with dodging for every weapon, but with LG also like he was hitting, but he was like also dodging a lot, like more like shorter and like maybe changing more. So you think like dodge is like kind of like more important than like focusing only on aim, right?
yeah. For me personally, I'm more of like a dodge heavy player,
Hmm.
and you know, the way I learned was kind of looking at Rafa and all that, and
Hmm.
so I'm kind of thinking of the aim being secondary. So in that sense,
Okay.
I'm not very similar to the kind of Tux serious kind of style where they're
Hmm.
more their thinking is more like I'm just gonna focus on hitting as much as possible. I'm not
Hmm.
worried about you hitting. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah, I
Because be,
yeah, I think majority of players have this problem that they're trying to hit as much as they can, like, and neglect the dodging. But it's also understandable because Quake Champions teach us that. I think even like I really like to dodge like rockets and things like this. And nowadays in Quake Champions, I feel like there's no really point in dodging rockets because like it seems like they're hitting me anyway. Like somehow they are like the explosion is like few meters away from me and it's randomly does like 70 or 50 damage. So I'm like just like you know only sometimes I catch myself trying to dodge rockets, and I think that was the beauty in Quake Life. You could dodge almost every single rocket.
I completely agree, and I think that's one of the things I enjoyed most about the game, just the
Mhm.
complexities of the dodging and
Yeah.
being able to dodge the rockets, for example. And I think in Quake Champions, the the Tux style where you're
Hmm.
completely focused on hitting and not dodging as much is going to be
Hmm.
way more effective.
Definitely.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Also, like I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a lot of kind of dodging which doesn't exist now in Quake Champions. Like let's say in Quake Champions, people usually dodge left and right, and like in Quake Life, you were going like forward, like you were trying to face your opponent, or like going backward. Like nowadays, I think like it's not even point to go like forward to someone, because like everything gonna hit you somehow, or like sometimes you were dodging and then you stopped in Quake Live, and people couldn't like track you anymore. Now, if you're gonna stop in Quake Champions, they're gonna hit 100% on you. So it's like, we lost a lot of dodging in Quake Champions. But also, like, we continue about LG fight. Do you focus on crosshair more, or you focus on like enemy model? Like when you're looking at your
Mhm.
monitor, do you focus like your eyesight on the crosshair or your enemy, or maybe your enemy legs, how he walks and how he kind of leans like towards which side?
Yeah, I would say I actually focus on the player model more,
Hmm.
just just to look at how they're dodging and how they're moving. I think that's really important, but at the same time, you can't really lose track of your crosshair.
Hmm.
So even if someone was like super focused on the crosshair, I don't think that would be like a wrong thing.
Hmm.
Um, you could go either way. I don't think this is something that
Don't
if
you?
I was gonna, it is not something you should like focus on. If I was gonna teach a new player, you just find
Hmm.
what's comfortable for you.
Hmm. Or is it like maybe now it's like my thing, like what I'm thinking. Maybe it's better to focus at one thing really good. So, for example, only about on crosshair really, really good, or like only on enemy model really, really good. Then like kind of like try to focus both things and then kind of lose like both, because sometimes when I'm tired after a few hours or like playing or something
Mm.
like that, I catch myself that I'm not really focusing either on enemy model or like crosshair. I'm just like kind of YOLO, and I'm just like playing. And when I want to try harder, I'm just like catching myself focusing only about crosshair or only about the model. So I think maybe that is also the case for some people. Just focus on one thing really good, because if you're gonna follow with your eyes, the enemy model is still gonna help you if you're gonna follow your crosshair, and it's gonna be the big contrasting colors between the enemy model and like crosshair. You kind of gonna go on spot maybe.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I wouldn't say this is something that if
that's
you
important.
like a player should like focus too much on.
Hmm.
Like unless it's like you're doing something completely weird. I remember Ints told me he would like focus on the enemy beam instead of
Hmm.
like if you're not focused on the enemy model or the crosshair anything is
Yeah,
it's not going to be good. You have to.
yeah.
So in that case, you have to think about it and
Hmm.
um, really try to focus on that. Yeah.
And in Quake Champions, do you try to like hit in the legs of opponent or like chest, or because like we see the tendency on hitting into the legs nowadays?
Now, for me, I'm more like middle of the body. I
Uh-huh.
didn't really focus on it too much. I've never really like believed in the thing where you're like trying to go for the legs,
Hmm.
but uh, yeah, I don't think that's gonna make like too big of a difference.
Hmm. So, for example, if you have an LG fight again, I know some guys, for example, dahang. He used to have like quite good LG, like one of the better one
Yeah.
from pro players, and he used to like he focused a lot. Like I remember, he focused a lot to not really like move his mouse too much. He just like adjusted a little bit, and he was trying to do more with dodging, and just like
Mm.
really adjust a little bit with mouse. What do you think? Like, what is the best way? How much you using your like hand, like mouse, and like because some people have trouble with overshooting, and like you don't really need to use that mouse that much, I think, right? In LG
Yeah.
fight.
So you mean like this is what you would call like mouse aiming compared to like strafe aiming?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think that probably you need to like improvise this in fights, but
Hmm.
I would be more like I would use more mouse aim
Hmm.
instead of strafing,
Hmm.
like for me personally.
Okay.
But I think the hang was like super low sense, right?
Yeah,
I think a
yeah.
lot of people that are super low sense, they end up being like that, where they use the strafes a lot more.
Hmm.
Just, you know, it's
Hmm.
harder to readjust faster.
Yeah, which also is weird because like if you got really low sense, it means you have more control over your mouse, so you can like you're not gonna ever overshoot your like enemy model. So But same story with strength. He had really slow sense and low sense, and he kind of like dodged, like he was hitting with his dodging and things like this. This is kind of weird for me. What are your settings, by the way? Like sensitivity, like mouse axle. Do you use any, or like your DPI?
Yeah, I use 1.9 at 800.
Hmm.
No Excel. I actually change my settings a lot less than
Then
some of the other
serious.
AIMA guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, than serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not because I think it's bad to change or something
Yeah.
like that. I think it's just because like I'm not really focused on that too much. You know,
Hmm.
usually focused more on my technique and stuff instead of trying to find like whatever is the perfect sense or something because I feel like that's
Hmm.
like you can't get that. It's pointless.
I think it's good. I think it's good because you don't really bother your mind a lot about it. Otherwise, you would like end up thinking about it all the time, and so it's like kind of bad, I think. And
Mm.
if we talk about okay, so now let's say we speak about rail, right? It's like completely
Mm.
different kind of aiming. Why do you think like kill sense like rail is so good? Do you think it's like kind of like feeling? Rail is more about the feeling, like or also maybe dodging like aiming technique or like flicking or like this is hard subject actually.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of hard to say because you know the rail is a lot of things like crosshair placement,
Hmm.
doing the smaller readjustments and
Hmm.
flicks. Um, I do I do think being able to, you know, if you look at the tux style of railing, it's like
Hmm.
super smooth, and you're
Hmm.
gonna be very consistent.
Hmm.
Um, and in that sense, Kilson might not be as consistent, but then his peak level, because he can do those extra things with the
Hmm.
better
Yeah,
readjustments, like his peak level might be like way higher.
true,
Um,
true. With Tox, sometimes I got impression that he even tracks you with rail. He kind of
yeah,
like
yeah, he does.
tracks his like crosshair like when he's railing. That's crazy. That looks super super like skillful when you watch him.
Yeah.
And he also hits like a lot of rails, so it's like it's still good. Uh, okay. Now what I wanted to ask you. Okay. Yeah, crosshair. I just wanted to know your crosshair. What is your crosshair like? What is the best crosshair for a G, let's say? Do you prefer bigger crosshairs or smaller crosshairs?
Well, it has to be like big enough where you don't like lose track of it,
Hmm.
but at the same time not too big. I just used like the regular dot
Hmm.
with the red,
Hmm.
just because you know the red is gonna be like contrasting to the enemy yellow
Hmm.
color,
Hmm.
and then it's like small enough where you can still like it doesn't like bother you at like long
Hmm.
range rail battles or something.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you think that bigger crosshair maybe I don't know, sometimes it gives this weird feeling like bigger crosshair kinda helps with if for because a lot of people have one problem I see like with LG they like overshooting like they kind of go too fast with like with their hand. I think
yeah,
like sometimes like bigger crosshair makes them like maybe don't panic as much with like readjusting because like it's
yeah,
really big and to readjust they only need to move a little bit so it's always on the enemy so they not like like they're not really like triggering the crosshair. Do you think that might help somehow? Do you have the
yeah.
same feeling?
I had the same feeling when I switched to like a bigger crosshair, but I believe that it's kind of like a trick, like a placebo thing,
Hmm.
because you still need to do the small adjustments and all that, but it's kind
Hmm.
of like now I'm like tricking my mind to not do those things. Is
Hmm.
so that's why I don't think that it's gonna end up helping you. It's gonna
Hmm.
maybe it's gonna make you more lazy, trying
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
less readjustments.
yeah. But as I said, I think for people who like really having the problem with overshooting, that maybe that could help them because like some people literally they are just like Their crosshair is like all over the place, and it's like, not hitting. And it's just a problem of like a kind of like, I don't know. It's problem of hand like muscle eye coordination or something like that, I think.
Yeah,
Okay, so if, for example, Quake Champions, do you have any like aim routines nowadays, or you completely not training your aim at all? You just like focus on duels or 2v2s, or and that's it.
yeah. I don't really have like an aim routine or something like that
Hmm.
these days. Mostly just play the Unhurried Trinity for warm up.
Hmm.
Um, but otherwise, I wanna try to focus on other things.
Hmm. Do you think like which mode is the best to practice aim in Quake Champions?
I mean, it probably would be Unholy Trinity,
Hmm.
but if my focus was like only on improving aim, I would do something outside of that.
Hmm.
Maybe practice something in other games.
Hmm.
Could be like your maybe you could try to improve in Overwatch or Quake Live or something like
Hmm.
that.
I agree.
Yeah, because yeah, need to do like Unholy Trinity in itself is not gonna challenge your mouse control enough, in my opinion.
Mhm. Sometimes I also feel like deathmatch in Quake Champions is much better to improve your aim than on Holy Trinity. Unholy Trinity is
Mm.
good because you got like infinity ammo and things like this. It's crazy, it's nice, but Unholy Trinity always feels for me really smooth. Like everything is so smooth there. As soon as I change to team deathmatch or deathmatch, like everything kind of FPS drops more and things like this, and it's much harder to hit. So sometimes I felt like playing deathmatch is like warming me up like aim-wise much more than Unholy Trinity.
Yeah, yeah, could be true.
Okay, so now let's say like this. Do you think like aim in Quake Champions in 1v1 is like the big part of the game, or you need much more strategy and other things than aim?
Well, I don't think it's like the biggest part of the game. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, when some of the biggest, most accomplished champions we've had are not
Hmm.
really focused that much on aim. When you see guys
Hmm.
like Rafa and Cooler,
Hmm.
well, they're more like focused on the movement and stuff.
Hmm.
So I don't think super important, but I think now in Quake Champions, it might be like a more important factor
Hmm.
compared to previous Quake titles.
Okay.
Um,
And what are your plans basically for Jewel now? Do you plan like cause like let's say we got like another like Quake Pro League season, are you gonna still try to like play like qualifiers from time to time, or like you don't really have time for that, or what is your like Quake Champions related plan at the moment? Do you have any?
well, my goal is if there's another season, I will try to qualify if I got the time to practice. I didn't really last season. I didn't really have the time to practice,
Hmm.
um, but I do think I have like an okay chance
Hmm.
if I put all my time into it.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you think you should improve in 1v1?
Obviously, I need more game sense. I need
Hmm.
to figure out things like how to play out of control,
Hmm.
um, and then I just need the experience, because I'm
Hmm.
kind of behind on the whole duel thing. You know,
Hmm.
just playing duel like starting it the first time like 3 years ago. It's not
Yeah.
really enough.
Yeah, especially that a lot of people grinded a lot of jewels nowadays because of QPL and things like this. I think you
Yeah,
you will have to just like practice with some pro players and focus on that, and also like on just like picking champs itself, during tournament. This is already problematic because if you don't really practice that, you end up like playing tournament and you don't know what is the meta. Like right now, if I don't play duels, I also don't know what is the meta. I would have to like do some practices, see like what players picking and things like this. And this is crazy, crazy like difficult. And what you doing in your life at the moment? Do you work? Do you study? Like do
yeah. I'm studying. I'm currently in university studying computer science,
Mhm.
um, and I'm gonna be done with that in January.
Mhm. And then you
Yeah,
insta want to like work somewhere, or you want to do some break and maybe try to focus on something like on some hobbies or like some life or like anything like that
I'm probably gonna try to find some work.
straight
Uh,
away.
yeah, I think so.
Gotcha,
It's the plan right now, at
gotcha.
least. So,
And who is your favorite aim player, like from
um,
Quake players?
I think overall the guy that I'm most impressed by
Mm-hmm.
is Klaus for sure. I feel like
Close, yeah,
he's on a completely like in a tier of his own when you're
yeah.
talking about the Amos. Just because he's like mastered every kind of technique that you can, it's can
Mm-hmm.
be like super smooth at the same time while having the
Mm-hmm.
really good flicks and readjustments and all that. I
Exactly.
think that that's what makes him super unique.
Exactly, he's crazy good. I'm just trying to get him on a podcast and speak about aim because, as you see, like this subject is like never-ending story, and people keep asking about things and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm not gonna hold you anymore. I'm really grateful that you came to my podcast and we spoke a little bit more about Quake and Quake related aim because, like as I said with Sirius, we kept like speaking like about everything at same time, and like we had also ins and things like this, so we maybe skipped some questions like for Quakers, but I think that's it. Like if you want to like give any tips in the end for any newcomers, like how to improve like hitscan aim with LG, like what would you say like right now what they can do to improve?
I would say like just focus on mouse control and trying to, don't try to like simply
Hmm.
uh, grind on Holy Trinity or something like that,
Hmm.
because it might hold you back in the long run. Just try to,
Hmm.
because mouse control is the most important technique and skill at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Um, so that's probably the most
Because
important thing.
the problem, like, did you have any problem with mouse control in the beginning when you started that you kind of like overheat or you underheat or you couldn't follow the enemy? Like, did you have any kind of problems like this? Did you fix it somehow, or it came with the time, or
I mean,
did you
yeah,
ever had, for example, problem with like squeezing your mouse too hard or something like this, or panicking, or like during fights? Like, this is the main problems for people, I think.
no, I think I was kind of fortunate that I didn't develop any bad habits
True.
from the beginning. For the like squeezing the mouse too hard, I just had like a super relaxed fingertip style grip
Hmm.
from the beginning, and I think you probably want like a grip that's like as relaxed as possible.
Hmm.
Um,
So you think
that's,
being relaxed with your hand and with your muscle is like also
yeah,
important to not like
yeah,
put too much tension on the mouse.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, and
yeah.
with mouse control, do you think it's the matter of the settings? Maybe some of the players have too high sensitivity, or like is the matter of practice more?
Probably more matter of the practice. Again, the settings won't matter too much
Hmm.
if you're not using like something crazy like the strength sense or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Because I do think that kind of sense did hurt him.
Yeah,
Um,
like at some point everybody knew like which side to dodge and stuff like this in open areas because he was like kind of like going like outside of the mouse pad with his mouse, and he had like he needed this 1 second to readjust and put the mouse back on the mouse pad. So yeah, but I think that's also what made him like a really good aimer. I think this low sense helped him a lot as well with railing, with everything, and he also used like really big crosshair because he used this like circle with like cross inside. So
yeah,
that's
that's true.
that's also. Anyway, guys, if you have any more questions, so I'm gonna try to keep like posting like some content with aiming. Like maybe we're gonna try to get close or someone else also for aiming. If I didn't ask something, because like there's a lot of questions which people like tend to ask. The most important is this, which I repeated already like 5 times: how to like mouse control, how to not overheat with LG, because this is the biggest issue for you guys. So if you got any more like concerns and questions, please like please add it in comments down below, and I will try to ask those questions to my other guests. And thank you, Enesy, and I wish you like good luck in your Quake Champions career. I hope you're gonna like achieve your goals in 1v1, and I hope you stick to the Quake because you're bringing a
Thank
lot
you.
of joy to viewers like who really enjoy beautiful game and aiming techniques. Thank you, man.
Thank you.